Thanks, Katie. Syracuse men's basketball takes on number 23 NC State in just over an hour, and there's one player to look out for in particular: SU center Jesse Edwards. The big man exploded for 19 points and 6 rebounds against the Wolfpack a season ago, and there was a lot of this.
Here's Girard, fresh off a three-pointer. Crossover dribble, down low to Edwards, no one home, and the Dutchman finishes at the rack.
WAER's Calvin Cristofaro had the call. Now that was last year, but this season's matchup with NC State appears even more favorable for the Dutchman. The Wolfpack's tallest regular starter is just 6'9", and NC State has allowed 72 points in the paint over the last 2 games. Edwards strives to dominate down low against the Wolfpack tonight at 7. WAER's coverage begins 30 minutes prior with McClure team countdown to tip off. In SU lacrosse news, Syracuse men's lacrosse's Joey Spallina and women's lacrosse's Megan Tyrell were named ACC Offensive Player of the Week this afternoon. Spallina scored 10 goals combined over 2 games, while Tyrell found the back of the net twice and dished out 6 assists in one contest. Spallina and the men's team face off against 9th-ranked Maryland Saturday at 1. Over to the women's side, Syracuse women's basketball has not fared well on the road this season. The Orange are 3-7 away from home and have lost 4 straight. SU gets a chance to break that trend on Thursday against number 24 Florida State. Game time is at 6, but coverage on WAER starts at 5:30 with countdown to tip off. On the ice, the Islanders take on the Senators tonight at 7:30. Jordan Leonard, WAER Sports.
Pass to Montgomery, inside, Williams bounces it in. Dyson skips it past Bobby Gavin's left hip for his first goal of the day.
But on the second opportunity, another one for Dyson Williams, his 100th career goal for the Blue Devils.
Dyson Williams has been a stalwart with Duke men's lacrosse now for 4 years. But his lacrosse journey started way before he got to Durham. Williams says it all began with his pops.
My dad, Sean Williams, the NLL Hall of Famer, and had a 17-year career in the NLL and playing in the summertime in the major series across with Brooklyn Redmond. And so growing up, watching him play, I decided to follow in his footsteps and try lacrosse, and I ended up falling in love with it.
Dyson grew up immersed in the game of lacrosse through his dad, and to no shock, he picked up a lot from his father. Williams' high school coach and former teammate of his dad's, Brody Merrill, describes the similarities between father and son.
Obviously a really close relationship with them, and he's kind of coached Dyson all the way up. And you see a lot of Sean in his game, just even to kind of how he strings his stick, to how he shoots the ball, and just little tendencies that are very, very familiar.
I thought that the way he plays, just with his eyes up and just kind of always looking to finding spaces off ball and with the ball in his stick. I'd say I kind of just tried to grow my game off that.
While Dyson first got into lacrosse because of his dad, the senior now plays with a bigger purpose.
Sadly, when I was 14, lost my brother Tucker, and he was 8 years old. So yeah, that was the hardest thing I've ever gone through.
Dyson's brother Tucker passed away to cancer in 2014. However, Williams has turned the tragedy in a way to honor his brother through lacrosse.
I wear the number 51, following my footsteps. My dad and my brother did the same. My sister plays at Pitt, wears 51 as well. And I'd say just wearing 51, trying to carry on his legacy. And any tough day, it's just you look down at your jersey, your penny, and you see 51. It's kind of that little reminder, what, life is good. I'm able to play the game I love, surrounded by my boys.
It's cool just seeing the number 51 too, and him wearing that and carrying on that legacy. And it always kind of brings a smile to my face when I see him. So almost a little bit surreal to see him, on ESPN playing for Duke and wearing number 51. I think, his little brother would be really proud of him.
Tucker's legacy continues to live on through Dyson, but it's also remembered by the impact Tucker had during his life. This was evident to start this year's Ontario Junior Lacrosse League draft.
We have the honor today of selecting a lacrosse player, who passed away just over 8 years ago, but his spirit is still with us today in our hearts and our souls and our minds. He always had a smile on his face, a twinkle in his eye. He loved lacrosse, he loved his friends, he loved his family. He truly was a special boy, and he truly was braver than brave. It gives me great honor to select with the honorary first overall pick of the 2023 entry draft, Tucker Williams.
I'd say there's no doubt in my mind, and the reason why he got picked number one, no bias here, is that he was honestly the best lacrosse player as a young kid. He was so dominant. And growing up, I'm 6 years older than he was, and playing backyard lax with him and mini lax in the living room. Like he was legit, really legit, and there's no doubt in my mind he would have had an unreal career. So it was really cool of them to kind of honor him that way.
Tucker will always be near and dear to Dyson's heart and is a main motivator for Williams every day.
He, although he was my younger brother, I learned a tremendous amount from him, and I just try to continue to make him proud every day.
Jordan Leonard, WAER Sports.
This was a 2-point game with 4 minutes and change to go in the first half. BC went on a 22-3 run, and the Eagles cruised from there.
That was the last game of 2021 for Pittsburgh and marked the 4th straight losing season for the Panthers under head coach Jeff Capel. However, this year, Pitt has taken a 180. Capel's squad sits at 20-8 with a chance at an ACC regular season title. A main factor in this renaissance for the Panthers is Federico.
Hinson the other way, lob up top, and thrown down. A missed dunk one way, a made dunk the other, and Federico slamming it down.
Federico tenacious on that low block.
Federico fighting for it, he picks it up.
Ah, yes, that's the player. Federico has been a stalwart down low for the Panthers most of the season. However, Noah Hiles of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette points out the first time SU saw the center, he was not supposed to be an integral player.
When you guys saw Federico in late December,
ball loose, picked up by Federico.
That was a player who at that time was still believed he's just holding down that starting spot until John Hughley can figure out whatever he's dealing with.
Since then, John Hughley unfortunately never worked his way back from injury, but Federico took that center spot and ran with it.
It's up at 3, can't connect. Federico send it in! Big size advantage for Jalen Moore until he ran into Federico. Federico sets it. Cummings down the lane, the drop off! Federico!
His emergence addressed Pitt's biggest weak spot. Where you look at that Syracuse game in late December, the Orange were able to battle back.
The final, Pitt 84, Syracuse 82 in a thriller.
Largely in part because they got him in foul trouble. And while he wasn't nearly the player he is now, he was still Pitt's best option down low. And when they had to take him out, they put in Jorge Diaz-Graham, and they just attacked the basket. For all 18 minutes, he was on the floor.
Focusing on that first matchup between the Panthers and the Orange this season, when Federico was on the floor, Pitt was plus 21. And when he was on the bench, the Panthers were minus 20. The reason for that stark difference is because the traits the Northern Oklahoma transfer brings to the floor.
He plays hard, he defends, he rebounds, but the main thing that he does, man, is that he gives us great energy. When we played at NC State, he played really well. The things may not show up in a box score, but his screening, he's very physical with his screening, his rim running.
Pitt head coach Jeff Capel knows the effort plays don't always show up in the box score, but certain little things do. Defensively, Federico is 3rd in the ACC with 2 blocks per game. While on the glass, the big man is one of the top offensive rebounding players in the conference. 45% of Federico's boards come from the offensive variety. Both of those reasons and more are why the next level could be in his future.
And I don't know if it's going to be this year. I think he'll probably need at least one more year in the college game, but I think he might have a future in the NBA based on what he's shown as far as athleticism and potential. Plus, it helps that he's 6'11" with an incredibly long wingspan.
Federico has another chance to prove Hiles' NBA projection against a quality big man in Jesse Edwards tonight. Jordan Leonard, WAER Sports.
And it's really emblematic of what Syracuse is as a team, and they're just downright young, and they're still learning this big freshman class. There's a couple transfers that came in Cole Kurtz and Alex Simmons, but that's not enough experience in which you're going to be able to compete against these top teams and close out games. This one, I think, is the most deflating because you had the lead and you had a chance to take a 2-goal lead, and then it just completely combusted out from under you. Like Syracuse had a lead, then was tied, and then gave up 8 straight goals to get eventually blown out by Notre Dame. I think that was the most disappointing part because, yes, they gave up the lead and they lost in the end, but they didn't show any fight in that fourth quarter after the goals started racking up for Notre Dame.
I've said it before, and I know I've said it before, is that experience matters only to a point. And Syracuse is now building up its experience of being in close games, but has still not gotten over the hump in any of them. And this is a problem. And we talked about it with Terry. It's, is this going to be something Syracuse can learn from and use to its advantage come these last 4 games of the season, or will this trend continue? And that's the main thing I'm watching is, okay, at this point, Rick talked about it last week. Freshmen are no longer freshmen at this point in the season. You've played 11 games. You got the experience under your belt. You know the speed of the game. You know what's going on. So it's, can you actually fulfill on those challenges and make a difference. And that's what you need to see is I need to see Syracuse make a dent in one of these 4 ranked teams they're going to face. We've talked the last few weeks about how Princeton is not the team that went to the Final Four last year. It's a team that's ranked 15th in the country right now, have a couple nice wins under the belt over the last few weeks, but this is a winnable game for Syracuse. And I just need to see it because I won't believe it until I see it because this has now happened 5 times.
I don't disagree with you, Ethan. I think the way Syracuse does that in a way that Syracuse can close out these games is by making an adjustment and getting off to a faster start. Syracuse has pretty much started almost every game slow this year, whether it was Hofstra 3-0, St. Bonaventure 2-0, or Notre Dame, they were down 5-0. So you spend so much energy just getting back in the game. They were down 5-0. They were down 8-2 against Notre Dame. You spend so much energy getting back in the game and against Notre Dame taking a lead that in the end, when you get to that fourth quarter, you don't have the legs to hang on and fight back from punches that any ranked team is going to give you. Yes, Notre Dame is one of the top 3 teams in the country, but Princeton is going to fight. There's a reason they're in the top 20 as well. So it's going out to a hotter start so you don't have to waste so much energy fighting all the way back just to get into a competitive position within that game.
Yeah, and fatigue is a factor with that as well, because you look at what happened at the faceoff X in the fourth quarter on Saturday, and that's where the Orange lost the game. This is a team that, to be one of the best teams in the country, you need to be well-rounded. And Syracuse through 3 quarters was a well-rounded team. They had fallen behind, but they'd come back. And then it kind of just fell apart. And it was, this is a team that was scoring at will towards the end of that second quarter and then in the third quarter. And definitely at the start of the fourth quarter, it's a team that was defending well. Sam Alexa was all over the field making plays. Will Mark, after a slow start, started to get into things. The faceoff battle wasn't completely lopsided. And then in the fourth quarter, it completely fell apart at the faceoff X. And that's where Syracuse lost the game.
Yeah, that was the biggest issue in the fourth quarter. Syracuse lost the faceoff X 9-2, and a couple of those came at the end of the game when the game was pretty much out of reach. And that's been the problem with Syracuse all season because they are a solid team overall. Their offense can score. They're one of the top offenses, in my opinion, in the country. They can really score with anyone. Their defense is solid enough, especially with their goalie, Will Mark, has just been a brick wall all year, that they can compete and hold other offenses down enough to give their offense a chance. It's just whether or not they will, because the face-off X. If you can't win face-offs, you can't give the offense the ball and give them a chance to score, and the defense has to get stop after stop after stop after stop, and it's going to add up at some point. And that's been pretty much what's plagued Syracuse all year, and it really reared its ugly head, especially in that fourth quarter.